Welcome to K-Drama School. I'm your host, Grace Jung, and class is now in session. I have a show update. So I just posted all of my show dates on my website at hj.com. So I will be at Rooftop Comedy Show at Grand Central Market at 8 p.m. on October 27th. And on October 14th, I will be at Stack's Comedy Show, which is going to be at Sideshow Books in Los Angeles at 6 p.m. Monday, the 11th, October 11th, I'm going to be on a Zoom comedy show that's at 5 p.m. I'll post details on that very soon on my website. I was interviewed a couple of times this past week by journalists about the show Squid Game. I guess they were coming to me because I specialize in Korean television studies and I have a PhD and all of that. But one of the journalists wanted to talk about the issues around subtitle translations. And I was just kind of like, first of all, I don't follow any of these Twitter battles that people engage in online. Secondly, who cares? The people who seem to care about the accuracy or inaccuracy, as if that's even possible with language, the so-called accuracy and inaccuracy of the translations of the subtitles, they were mostly people who speak Korean, right? It's not the non-English speakers who are complaining about these translations. It's the people who speak Korean. So it's like, if you speak Korean, why are you even watching it with subtitles in the first place? You understand what the hell is going on. Are you just concerned that people around you are not going to get the exact same experience as you? That is impossible, okay? You're all different bodies with different minds and different experiences. Nobody's going to engage with the text in the exact same way. I translated 2 books from Korean into English. One is a short story. Well, it's a novella written by Lee Chung-jun called 벌레 이야기, which I translated as The Abject. And that is published and it is somewhere online. You can find it. And the other translation that I did is on Kim Dong-in's selected works of short stories, which I entitled Sweet Potato. But his book of short stories was entitled 감자, after his short story 감자, which in North Korean dialect would be sweet potato. But in South Korean dialect, it would just be potato, right? There are so many nuances that go into translation, and it has to do with what the translator and interpreter knows. Okay, it has to do with what kinds of cultural things, historical events, uh, sociological, political, economic context that the translator knows. Okay, and the thing about language is interpretation and translation is very subjective depending on who is doing that work. So the decisions that they make, they will not satisfy every single person on earth. That is impossible. And I told this to the journalist in Canada who was interviewing me about this article, right? He was trying to engage me in this Twitter fight as if I gave a shit. I don't. I really don't care what the translation is like, whether I agree with it or disagree with it. That's the translator's work. I have no say in that matter. But I will say this. Given Netflix's high demand of Korean content, I do wonder what the compensation and work environment is like for these translators. Are they under high duress? Are they getting enough rest? Do they have enough time to provide accurate translations, right? What I find disturbing is that people are shitting on the translators themselves when what they should be shitting on is the actual system of Netflix and the high demands and impossible work expectations that Netflix imposes on Korean translators, right? Translation is not easy work. It's very, very difficult. When I was translating the novella, The Abject, it took me a little over a year. When I was translating the book of short stories by Kim Dong-in, that took me over a year. Guggenheim wanted to hire me as a translator for a book, and they wanted me to do it in 6 months. And I said no, because that is insane. I'm not going to bang out a translation in 6 months. You need time to let language settle in. You need time to do research. You need time to figure out whether or not you agree with what you just put down. And without that time, without that processing, you're not going to get good translation. I personally still don't understand why these people who speak Korean are so angry about the subtitles and translation. Really, I just don't. If it's a matter of subtitles or closed captioning for people with hearing disabilities, I mean, that's a whole nother matter, but that's an issue that linguists and people who do disabilities should handle. I mean, that's their discourse, right? Something that they need to figure out among people with disabilities and among linguists. But if you are just a fan and you speak Korean and understand Korean and you have issues with these translations, I it's like, don't you have something else to pick a fight with? I mean, don't you think that this is a good enough show that you enjoyed? I mean, why do you have to go and dampen the mood by bringing up your negativity? I mean, I find that really annoying. I think Squid Game needs a little bit more discussion, so I'm going to be talking about it some more today in my uh, textual analysis of the show. And then the meat of this podcast episode will be a discussion with Dr. Suk-Young Kim, who is a critical studies professor at UCLA. And she was also my mentor and committee member on my doctoral dissertation. And even though I normally put the flashcard questions up front, I'm gonna backload it this time. So that is gonna be with Tobias Hauser, very, very funny comedian. So let's talk about Squid Game a little bit more. There are a few things that I didn't get to touch upon in episode 39, so I'll talk about it here and now. So there's this monologue that actor Shin-gu gives in the last episode of a 2004 Korean drama called Miss Kim's $1 Million Quest, or 파란만장 Miss Kim 10억 만들기. And the protagonists are Kim Hyun-ju, actress Kim Hyun-ju, and actor Ji Jin-hee. And you've all seen actor Ji Jin-hee in 대장금, aka Jewel in the Palace. He's the hot guy that 대장금 starts dating. And Shin-gu on this program plays the landlord 아저씨, okay? And at the end of this series, he gives this long monologue where he says, if you want to make money, go to bed every single night in exhaustion as your bones ache. Then you will make money. That's what he says. And this is the mythology of capitalism that is handed out to lower and middle class individuals. There's this false belief that die-hard working will lead to capital gain and success. And if you're Korean, you definitely heard this shit, all right? Koreans probably work 3 times as hard as anybody I know. They do it because they think if they don't, nothing will work out. They think suffering will equal some kind of result. So they just always want to go and suffer, no matter what. Okay. But here's the truth. This is something I figured out just in my life when I look back on things retrospectively and as I'm living my life on a day to day, present day, and now. I wish I cut myself more slack when I was younger. Okay. And I took everything a little bit too seriously. I feel like if I had been a little bit more lax and took everything as simple and easy and, you know, comfortable, then I would have had the exact same life that I have today with less wrinkles and less stress. If you want to find joy in life, you should just work less, stress less, live more, satisfy yourself more, find greater comfort, seek joy, prioritize all of these things above all else, then you will attain happiness. Okay? Capitalism has this false illusion, and they keep dictating the same nonsensical message over and over again through weird advertisements and false hopes. Like, if you buy this, you will be happier. Capitalism keeps saying if you have more money, you'll be happier because you'll be able to afford these things that corporations are trying to sell you. And I'm here to tell you right now that none of that is true. You can skip that part and just get to the happiness and joy and comfort. Those things are attainable without money because it's a state of mind and emotion, and you can attain these things without a single cent. I think before anybody starts working, they really should figure out what it is that brings them the greatest satisfaction. Okay. Once you have that clarity and you pursue it, happiness will be there. When I quit my office job in New York in acquisitions and film distribution, I moved to Los Angeles for grad school and to work in the entertainment industry. And I remember waking up when I was living in LA, okay? I remember waking up one morning at 10 a.m., walking to a cafe by 11 a.m., browsing some clothes at a vintage store around 3 p.m., then grocery shopping and getting home around 5 p.m. I made dinner. I followed it up by doing some reading and writing, and then I watched some TV, and then I went to bed, okay? I mean, think about that chill ass day. I felt so much happiness and joy in that one day. And I continued to live that kind of day on a day-to-day basis. And I did not feel that kind of comfort and joy in all the years that I had been working at that fucking office in New York, where it was supposedly a coveted job with a coveted status, right? Nowadays, I don't have an income, all right? My monthly allowance is very limited. What we actually need in order to feel comfort, joy, and safety are very minimal. We don't need an extra ottoman for the couch to feel complete. We don't need a new fucking curtain. We don't need another TV for the guest room. We don't need another dog. We don't need another kid. We don't need another spouse in order to be happy. We have to learn how to say that what I have is enough because I am enough. The moment we come to terms with this, we can find freedom and joy in everything and everyone. People rarely ask me this, even though I have a PhD in film and television. But when they do ask me, what is your favorite movie? I tell them it's The Big Lebowski. You know why? Because the dude abides. That's why. And he's my philosophy in life, okay? If you want to know the meaning of life, go see The Big Lebowski. And accept it when I say stop trying so hard because right now, in this moment, you're perfect and that is enough. If there are any takeaways from the show Squid Game, it's that message, all right? I am extracting and putting that on a silver plate for you. Don't try so hard. Desire creates suffering. Happiness is attainable without money. Whenever I meet Korean studies professors at conferences who study film, they always give me this bullshit line, oh, I don't watch TV. I'm like, bitch, you do watch TV. You just don't want to consider the shows you watch as TV, okay? Any show you find on HBO, FX, and Showtime, they're all TV, okay? Mad Men is TV, okay, bitch? Handmaid's Tale is TV, all right? And Squid Game on Netflix is absolutely television. And like I said, I already see Emmys and Golden Globe nominations, if not wins, for this show. They are coming, all right? I can't get enough of Squid Game, honestly. I'm watching this show for the second time this week, and I have a lot more thoughts on it. But this conversation with Dr. Kim is such a treat, not only for me, but also for you. All right. So here are a few things that I realized while I was talking to Dr. Kim that I want to elaborate on some more right now. The reason why Korean dramas are so good is because the creators strive for the impossible, which is satisfying other Koreans. All right. Any Korean who's lived with Korean parents know this. It's like satisfying them is an impossibility. All right. Korean fans and critics are like the inexhaustible helicopter Korean parent whose expectations go way beyond what is humanly possible. You can see this already in how many Koreans dislike Squid Game despite its massive international success. You can also see this in how many Korean Americans dislike Squid Game because of their issues with the translation. I wrote an entire doctoral dissertation, which is now going to be my first academic book on Korean TV variety shows. Korean TV variety shows, aka 예능, they are game shows and reality shows. All right, so things like Superman, The Return of the Superman, that is a Korean variety reality show. Infinite Challenge, 2 Days, One Night. These are all variety shows that I look at. So in that book, I basically say that variety shows are a parody of the reward obsessed capitalist society in which South Korea and the globe are living off of. These comedians on Korean variety shows go through hell and back, fight to the teeth to win the most ridiculous prizes, like a banana or a fucking choco pie. Okay, they do all kinds of insane things like backstab one another, break their own bones, play mind games on one another. Okay, so Squid Game essentially is just mirroring what Korean variety shows have already done and continue to do. All right, so if you want to see a quintessential example of Korean variety shows and their sadism, which are very, very funny, look up clips of Infinite Challenge on YouTube via MBC's channel. Someone tweeted at me that they think Squid Game is racist because of the way that they treated the Pakistani character Ali. Let me clarify and say that there are lots of racists in South Korea who mistreat migrant workers from South Asia, just like there are many racists in the United States who mistreat migrant workers from all over Asia, Latin America, and Africa. All right. In fact, North America and Europe enslaved an entire race. Do you remember this? And they committed genocide to take land that didn't belong to them, right? I don't think the show itself is racist. all right, because of how they treated Ali's character. The way that Ali dies is such a crucial part of the show as a substantial critique of South Korean CEOs who mistreat and swindle migrant workers from South Asia, North Korea, parts of China. Okay, like that happens all the time. So I wouldn't say the show is racist per se. I would just say that there are racists who the show is critiquing. I personally didn't watch this show with subtitles on, so I don't know how the English subtitles handled this, but Ali keeps addressing Sangwoo as 사장님, right? 사장님 means boss or CEO. It loosely translates to boss. It's a title and expression used when addressing the owner of an establishment. So Sangwoo keeps telling Ali not to call him that because Ali doesn't technically work for Sangwoo, right? So it's an inappropriate way to address him. In that liminal space, on that island where they're all competing in games, everybody, regardless of their creed or education or gender or background, are on equal status. They're on the same plane level, right? In episode 2, Sangwoo gives Ali some cash so that Ali can take the bus back home. And Ali thanks him and calls Sangwoo 사장님. But what happens in episode 6? Sangwoo tricks Ali with a bag of rocks, wastes his time by making him wander around the neighborhood for a completely fake plan, and swindles him out of all of his marbles. It's exactly what happened to Ali in his actual lived life in Korea as a factory worker. Ali's real 사장님 did him dirty in the exact same way by not paying him and lying to his face. I'll share something else here. My mother was a farm girl in Hapcheon in Gyeongsangnam-do in South Korea. And when she was 14, she was sent away to the city of Masan, where she had to work at a factory as a factory girl. And she told me that the bosses, the 사장님들 that she had to encounter back then, were dirty and tricky bastards. She said that they all learned how to be a boss in a factory, in an industrial environment, because they studied in the United States. So my mother's theory is that these economically privileged Koreans went to the US, learned the management systems in America, and brought that all back to Korea where they took advantage of their laborers in the exact same way. I'm not bringing this up for blame shifting reasons. I'm bringing this up because this is just the nature of capitalist economies and neoliberal structures. Money is a highly dehumanizing element, and yet we are addicted to it, just like we are addicted to sugar, alcohol, fat, tobacco, and other substances that are slowly killing us. We know that money is bad for us, but we can't stop consuming because no one is willing to climb off the hamster wheel. Squid Game has a definite critique of neocolonialism here as well. How American empire has a hold over South Korea, which has now reached sub-empire status over developing nations such as Pakistan, India, the Philippines, Vietnam, parts of China, North Korea, and some Eastern European countries. Neocolonialism simply means control over a nation without government takeover. All right, so you maintain sovereignty, but in its economic and social, cultural ways, there are infiltrations where there is a higher status nation controlling a lower status nation. Okay, usually a richer country taking hold over a poorer country. So take a look at the history of bananas in the United States. All right, you'll see neocolonialism there. Take a look at the relationship between Mexico and the US. You'll see neocolonialism there. Even look at South Korea and America. Without America's political and economic support, South Korea would not have reached the economic stability that it has today. Even still, there are many social ailments as a result of this neocoloniality, as well as a neoliberalism. And Hwang Dong-hyuk is missing a mouthful of teeth because Netflix's demands. All right, that's one example of neocolonialism at work. Think about the voyeurs of this game. Okay, the voyeurs of this game, the ones wearing those big gold colorful crystallized amazing animal face masks, right? They're these wealthy white men, and then you have one man from China. They represent nations with the most billionaires in the world. To me, billionaires aren't even people anymore. They're just creatures of capitalism. They're desensitized to humanity because money requires a lot of hyper rationalizing of unspeakable acts against other human beings. We know this because we watch the show. Everybody's wearing a mask, right? When you see that guy who's like, what do you call it? Is he the Undertaker? When he's chopping people's heads off at the guillotine, he's wearing a mask, right? It's to hide his human face, to hide his eyes, all right? Our groveling in society while toiling away to make money, it's all for the elite to watch and laugh at, all right? We're a mere spectacle to the 1%. We're their entertainment. Look at all the sad memoirs and documentaries that people from sad circumstances, oftentimes marginalized situations, come from, right? The civilizations that National Geographic focuses on. These images and stories are marketed towards white people, people with money, people who live in developed nations, the readers of the New York Times, the readers of the New Yorker magazine. If everybody had equality and happiness, white elites would have no entertainment, no drama, no tension, no amusement, just their own stale, boring lives with their pretty little plates and their tea sets and whatever the fuck. As we learn from Squid Game, people of the upper echelons are bored as hell. They need to feel again by watching others kill one another or put their lives on the line for something as ridiculous as paper that we call money. Something we believe to be the answer to our miseries and desperations. But we gotta realize, and this onus falls on Hwang Dong-hyuk, the showrunner as well, we can say no. We always have a choice. We don't need to follow what the system dictates. We can dissent. And I always say dissent. In dissent, you'll find freedom. Today's guest is Dr. Suk-Young Kim. She's an esteemed professor of theater, performing arts, and Korean studies. She's currently the head of theater department at UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. She specializes in Slavic languages and culture, North Korean studies, and K-pop. And she's a very prolific writer and the author of several amazing books, including Elusive Utopia, DMZ Crossing, and K-pop Live. She has two more books on their way. One is on millennials in North Korea, currently under contract at Stanford University Press. And there's an edited anthology on K-pop that is currently under contract at Cambridge University Press. And when it comes to K-pop, Dr. Kim has been the go-to person for a lot of media outlets, including CNN, NBC, NPR, and Quartz. And I love Dr. Kim because she's so down with pop culture. You know, she watches all of it. She watches all the fun stuff, and she's happy to talk about it. Dr. Kim brings these big, looming, profound theories to the texts that she examines, and they become way more rich and meaningful because of her perspective. And we're blessed to have her guidance to see our culture in a whole new way. Without further ado, let's talk to Dr. Suk-Young Kim.
And you okay? You been good?
I've been pretty good, yeah. After I finished my PhD, uh, I I started getting full body massages once a month since May. And she was like, after I finished my PhD, she was like, your body is totally different. I was like, yeah, because it's literally a weight off my shoulders, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it has a physical toll on you, but you zipped through it. I mean, I
yeah.
haven't seen a student who wrote it as like quickly as you did with such substantial content. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Thanks. I think it's just like I was so committed to finishing, and
Hmm.
I would just say I'm gonna write every single day. Even if I'm not writing something new, I'm gonna go in and change something or read it at the very least so that I'm
Yeah,
not afraid of it, you know? I think that's like
right.
the
Yeah,
writer's block a lot of grad students have, is like they're afraid of sitting down in front of it. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep encountering it so I'm not afraid of it. And I think that worked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like it's saying you don't need inspiration. It's like going into grocery store, opening up your cash register and working there. It's just like that. There's like mechanics and rhythm to it. So just do it every day. So there you go. You finished.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's really like the best advice to give people who are writers when they're facing a writer's block. It's like whatever you're doing, you're still writing because you're still thinking and you're still processing and you're experiencing. And I think that's so important that
Yeah.
we forget that, right? But are you teaching at the moment?
Luckily, I'm not. I'm glad that I'm not teaching because, there's a lot to do in the aftermath of my brother's death. I'm the
Oh my
executor
God.
of the estate, so I have to clean up all his stuff, and that requires some travel. So it's not like I can just go and be sad and mourn his death. There's like actual work to do. So
Hmm.
uh, luckily, I'm not teaching.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. This is your older brother or younger?
he's younger, so it was really unexpected. I mean,
Yeah.
total surprise. Yeah, this is what like life
Mm.
throws at you.
Um, okay. Well, it kind of makes sense that you're an older sister. Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the second. So my brother was only 45, which is really young
Oh,
for now. I mean, that's
yeah.
how old Romans were, you know. That was the like average Roman lifespan, and we're talking about 2,000 years ago. So
Right,
shock.
right, right. I'm so sorry.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like kind of it's on my mind, but
Uh-huh.
Squid Game helped me snap out of it because it's just so good.
Isn't it an amazing show? It's so
Oh my
good.
God. I love the humor. I mean, people don't mention humor too much, but there's
It's a black comedy.
incredibly dark, yeah, comic
Hmm.
moments that just like made me chuckle.
I agree. You know that scene when he gives his daughter the present and she opens it and it's a gun?
Oh, I know. That element of surprise, and I mean, it's kind of like forecasting all these, present box that turns into coffin, and
Yeah,
it's like so smart. I love the set design, the visuals were just
everything.
right on.
The
Yeah,
music, the
right.
cast, it was like just so good. Like all the details. And this guy like Hwang Dong-hyuk's been thinking about this show for over 10 years, and that's really the indicator of why it's a good show. He thought about every minute detail because he had the time to do it, right? And
Right.
now Netflix being Hollywood, being America, they're like, "Okay, where's season 2? When are you going to?" And this guy, he was like he lost like 6 teeth because of the
Right.
stress, and it took such a toll on him, and now they're just like immediately season 2, when's it going to come out? And this director, he can't do the very thing that he critiques, which is say no to money. Just say no to success and fame. Take care of your health and work on your creativity and give it time. He can't say no. He can't do the very thing that he's criticizing in his own show. And he's like, I already have some ideas for season 2. I'm like, bro, it is never, ever, ever gonna be as good as season 1 because you had 10 years to think about it, right?
Exactly. I mean, he would need to bring Bong Joon-ho, Park Chan-wook to really kind of bring up season two to the level of season one. And I mean, you talked about money, Grace, but I'm not sure how much money he made because, the production cost of the whole entire uh, season one is somewhat equivalent to production cost of one episode of Crown, which is the most expensive show. So, I mean, we hear a
Yeah.
lot about, cost-effective Asian labor. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you just really wonder what was his take, away by
Mm-hmm.
going through so much. I mean, I think Netflix K-drama partnership could be win-win situations, but you also
Mm-hmm.
think about this kind of more balanced view of what other actors are being paid, whether the staff is really having reasonable conditions to work in. I mean, all those things are kind of on my mind as well.
I think that's really important because when I was reading about shows like Kingdom, for instance, like people died on that set. You know what I'm
Right?
saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
shows are not worth dying for, especially if you're not the director. If you're the director and you die for your movie or show, by all means, go ahead, But these are people whose names don't even get recognition. And Um, yeah, the labor conditions, I mean, are they able to catch up to the expectations and the demands of Netflix and the globe, right? I think that's really important and it goes overlooked. Yeah. But I do know that they have back end royalties for streaming. Like friends of mine who are actors in Hollywood, they do get for each streaming, like each time their movie or show gets streamed, they do get some royalties. So I know that they do have back end deals, but I don't know the details of it, and it might be
Right.
different with Korean productions.
Right. I mean, I don't know the details of what this contract looks like, but I read one of the interviews given by Hwang Dong-hyuk, the director of
Mm.
Squid Game,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
doesn't sound like he will get extra perk for, hitting number one chart in almost every country where
Yep.
Netflix is available. So I don't think the financial gain would have been
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
kind of measuring up to the global success of the show as of now.
Actually, this is why I wanted to talk to you because I remember when I was in your class, which I loved. I loved the seminar that I took with you. I was like, this was such a great opportunity. But I remember what the first question you asked, I think day one of the seminar, you were like, how do you measure popularity without numbers?
You're putting me on spot. No.
I remember you asking me that. You asked the whole class that. And we were just like, yeah, how? But that question applies to this current situation, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think it's I think it's what the public defines it to be. I don't
Hmm.
think there is one set answer to this. Um,
Yeah.
I think the answer is like one size fits nobody, and I
Right.
think the answer has to be really situational,
Mm-hmm.
contextual. I mean, when was this catching fire? Under what context? And
Right.
I mean, for me, um, it's not just the number of countries that it landed on number one chart or, how much media is talking about it. But I mean, for me, it was truly successful and powerful because it spoke so viscerally to pandemic, post-pandemic situation,
Hmm.
especially in terms of, the visceral wealth gap, and just dire situation that many people are faced with, especially after pandemic or still under pandemic. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it resonates universally,
Mm-hmm.
um, while not really losing kind of this quirky directorial kind of, color to it. And I agree with you that, I mean, there was so much time that went into thinking about all these minute detail which created a whole universe. And
Mm-hmm.
as a kind of like specialist in drama, I always kind of look into whether the rules of this world is convincing, no matter how detached they might be from the actual world we live in. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
rules of the game are improbable, right? I mean, that something like that just perhaps cannot happen legally in our world, but we subscribe to it. We're immediately empathized and drawn into it. So he created this whole universe where these like weird rules of the world exist, but we subscribe to them. And the ability to convince your viewers right on, I think is a
Yeah.
measure of success for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not really different from our current world, is it? Think about how many situations we're put in daily in our society, a capitalist society, a neoliberal economy where we don't say no when we're being sexually assaulted or harassed at work because we have a bunch of debt and we need this job and we're willing to do anything it takes, right? We're putting our bodies and our minds in precarious situations daily when we work for anybody, right? I mean, that is is like embedded everywhere. It's conditioned physically, mentally, emotionally. We feel it all the time. And when those people leave the games, they leave that island, they leave that liminal space and return to their quote unquote reality, and they realize, oh, that's hell, and they just go back willingly on their own accord because they realize, well, okay, I mean, might as well be this, risk it all.
I mean, that moment shows like what choice is a true choice. I mean, it's all false choice, right? I mean, living in neoliberal capitalist society, we're constantly making false choices because
Yes,
the choice you're given is, do you want this brand of cereal or this brand of cereal? But it's nevertheless
exactly.
cereal.
Exactly.
So in a way, I think, what's really harrowing about the situation that you just mentioned is, um, yes, we put ourselves in precarious conditions to be compliant so that we can get our paycheck, be employed, make it in this world. But what's really harrowing about this particular show is that it turns into somebody's entertainment, right? So
Hmm.
somebody's matter of
Hmm.
life, choice
Hmm.
of what to do,
Yeah.
given the evil spread of choices they get. It's somebody's pure entertainment. And I think it's a very, very strong satire on the entertainment industry itself.
Entertainment industry itself, but also global hierarchy. Also,
Absolutely.
I mean, there is this critique, I mean, this analysis of racialized hierarchy, global hierarchy, right? Like, I mean, it's all white men. Hello. You have one Chinese guy because there are a lot of billionaires in China,
Oh, that
right?
moment was so funny when he started reciting Du Fu's poem. I thought that was like so brilliant. Like, how does this lofty classical poem fit into this? It was just brilliant.
But somehow it does. I mean, that's, but that, even that moment is an indicator of like, we have a choice when it comes to what kind of reality we wish to live, we wish to choose, you know? Like, in that moment, it's a very insidious and weird moment, but like, that's a very minor clue into telling everybody, even though we live in this society where they give us those false choices as in a
Yeah,
consumer society, right? We have a choice to exist in a different kind of reality mentally and emotionally, right? Which is where affective, kinds of theories come in. Like, I don't know, my situation currently, even your situation currently. I mean, you're mourning a loss, but you're like, but I have things to do. I have to go and pack these things away, and I have to take care of my kids, and I have to tend to my husband, and I have to tend to my school administrative duties, blah, 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 right? I mean, that's a choice rather than sitting and mourning and doing whatever. Like me, I graduated in June, no jobs. I apply to jobs twice a week, every single week. I'm on unemployment, but pandemic stipend cut half of it out. So really, it's really sucking. I'm on food stamps. Even food stamps, they're like, you're making too much money on unemployment. I'm like, you mean barely making my rent? They're like, no, that's too much money. So food stamps, we give you $20. I'm like, okay, great. And there's just nothing. But it's like I have a lot to do every day, you know? I mean, thankfully, I mean, you're sending me stuff, like these opportunities and stuff, and I write back and I say, okay, like maybe this is an opportunity, but like I'm always writing, I'm always working, I'm always working on some kind of project because I say to myself, what is the point of feeling anxious if I know it's gonna work out? Like this project's
mm,
gonna work out, so why should I feel like anxious and nervous about money right now? That's such a useless way to think and feel at this moment. It's not going to be productive to the work that I'm doing, which I'm doing because I believe in it, because I know it's going to work out. So that's a kind of reality I'm choosing, right? And I'm not saying that the neoliberal kind of systems and infrastructures are not in place. We have to acknowledge it. That is one reality. But there are multiple realities that coexist at all times, aren't there?
yeah. And I think this really brings me back to the kind of most fundamental question that one can raise in life, and it's how do we live our lives, and um, are we are we going to go with the route of happiness, which comes from kind of turning a blind eye to these structural failures and um, giving up your choice, true choice, and going with the flow? There is certain comfort and stability that comes with it. Or are you going
Mm-hmm.
to truly choose freedom, but stand in wilderness all by yourself as the
Mm-hmm.
last standing voice of
Mm-hmm.
dissent? My favorite writer of all time is Dostoevsky, and he's the one who
Mm-hmm.
really taught me the impossibility of making the right choice between the two. And I think
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying really resonates closely with that foundational question. I mean, academics, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I think we do kind of tend to parade under this like liberal flag kind of. I mean, most
Yeah.
of us have no clue about the reality, the real
No.
situation out there. We're very protected, and
Mm-hmm.
most of us have to be compliant to go through all this
Mm-hmm.
tenure and job security. But we do it
Yeah.
in the name of perhaps supporting others, our children. But
Mm-hmm.
we do know deep down that there is this gulf that cannot be reached at all, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of providing the terrain of freedom and happiness.
Right. Yeah. And it's really up to the individual. And, sometimes people are like, well, that's a selfish way to think and exist. I'm like, of course, I have to be. I'm responsible for my feelings and my thoughts. I have to take care of myself. To only acknowledge the resistance that is up against me and the blockages and my marginality, all these limits, to only see that and live in that is hell. It's
Mhm.
hell. It's no way to live. Doesn't mean that those realities are not true. Yeah, they're there, but I'm not gonna live in just utter depression and constant state of grievance at all times. It's just no way to live. And I have methods of coping and figuring it out. Each time a difficult emotion or thought comes to me, I'm just like, this is just a problem I solve. And there is an answer to it. And I exist that way moment by moment nowadays, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness I have these tools. Because
Mm-hmm.
imagine if I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it's October, 3 months, no employment. I mean, come on. UCLA did offer me something, and I'm like, this is the bullshittiest like offer ever. I'm like, you basically want me to work for free. No, I'm not gonna do it. You know, it
Yeah.
does take courage to be a dissenter. You
Yeah.
know, it does
Yeah.
take a lot to say no to stuff. You know, for
Yeah.
instance, like in the show, you know, when Ali, such an important character, right? Like, you know, this guy, where is he from? Pakistan? Is he
No,
Sri
he's from
Lankan?
India. Yeah. He's from
He's
India.
Indian.
Oh, in the
So
drama, he's from Pakistan, but he's an actor from India.
oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he represents a Pakistani migrant worker, and he's there, and everybody's working, right? And he goes to the office and says, "Give me my like back payments, and give like you know I want to go. Give me my money so I can go." And the guy's like, "Look at everybody working. You're the only one that's causing
Mhm.
trouble, right?" Imagine if everybody had left, you know? Imagine if everybody had said no and gone. Imagine if every single adjunct professor said, "No, I'm not doing it. Bye." Right? Imagine if every single professor said, "No, you think arts and humanities education is bullshit? Okay, let us just walk out. See what happens." Right? And then what has happened? Like, you know, like these movements happen, you know, people protest on the street, people die from the protests. Like, there is agony. There is this feeling of suffering. The only people who are equipped to address that and talk about it and have the language to do so are people who are trained in arts and humanities profession. The people who are completely neglected because STEM takes all the money, you know? I was telling other professors this, but I saw the funding for STEM students for postdocs. It was $200,000 starting salary, first year after they're graduated. And
That's more than what I will make ever in my life.
for postdoc, a recent graduate,
Wow.
okay? Now
Yeah.
for arts and humanities scholars, it was at a Rome, some kind of like thing, $20,000. No
Right.
board, no room, no health insurance.
Um,
And that is society placing value on individuals based on what they think is valuable, right? So it's like we got to redefine what value is. Like it goes back to the question you asked, how do you define what is popular but apart from numbers?
yeah. Um, I'm speechless because, one of the worst experiences that you can have as a professor is, we recruit and train students because we treasure their views, we value what they have to say. And after, you know, kind of spending the golden age of your youth, your life, um, when people are faced with such like degree of desperation only and no kind of vision of moving forward in any meaningful way, that is really heartbreaking. Um, yeah, so those are some of the toughest moments that I face at, somebody working in academia. It's tough. Some days I just lose faith, and there are many moments where I just want to stop recruiting because what are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, right? Like it's not a linear path, you know? Like you know this because of the work you've done, because of your training and because of the things you've studied and things you've analyzed. Um, there's no linear path to anything. The belief of linear path to something is what STEM people do. That's how they think. You know, they think everything's linear. Like, I was talking to he gave up his PhD, but he was like maybe 4 years into his PhD in physics, and he's a friend of mine, and like we talk about stuff, and I was like talking about like I don't know, this might get goofy, but just bear with me. I was talking about like aliens and stuff, and he was like, I don't believe in them. I was like, well, you didn't take psychedelic drugs, so you don't get a say in it. And he was like, I need to see evidence with my eyes. I was like, what makes you think your eyes are so truthful and convincing and hardcore evidence? What makes you think that your eyes are so trustworthy? It's because scientists think in that linear way. And I don't. You know, for me, it's not one door. It's not tenure track. That's not it. For me, there's so many doors that I can turn to and open, and all of them are valid paths, paths that'll still get me to the point I'm trying to get to. We need to indicate that to students when they feel that anxiety and gripping fear, which is what I think neoliberal economies keep telling us. There's just one way. Oh my God, you have so much debt. You have to do this job. Oh my, he's an asshole. Yeah, I know your boss is an asshole, but just bear with it. Trust me, it's gonna be okay. You know. But I've met students at UCLA too who do the same thing. They were working as a PD at SBS, and she said she was getting sexually assaulted every single day. And she was a junior PD, meaning she would have had job security at SBS till the day she dies. And her dad,
Oh,
her own father, was like, "Don't quit this job." All of her hunbes were like, "Don't quit this job. You trust me, you don't want to give up this job. It's a really good one." And she's like, "I'm getting sexually assaulted every single day." They're like, "No, trust me, you'll get over it." And she said, "I quit that job because I did not want to make that my norm." And I was like, you were so brave to me because that's her saying no to that illusion, right?
mm. Yeah, the cost we pay to get what we think we want is just enormous. Um, and I mean,
Yeah.
going back to Squid Game, I mean, they literally show you that people die when you don't play by the rules. But
Uh-huh.
we also die small deaths that way.
All the time.
Yeah, we give in, we give up, and
Mm-hmm.
incrementally, that adds up
Mm-hmm.
to death in many ways. And I was
Yeah.
just wondering, Grace, so what would you like to do with your life, with yourself, and the knowledge that you have, the experience you have? I mean, is it goal or is it the process that you are looking into? I mean,
I'm already kind of doing it every single day. So I'm a
mhm,
stand-up comedian, so I do stand-up every single night. And that gets me travel. Like I get some travel time with that. I still attend conferences, and I like the fact that I got a PhD, and you know I do love knowledge. So I'm glad I did that work. But um, you know, if I don't end up in a tenure track situation, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm also a filmmaker. I made a film that's currently awaiting pending festival acceptances, but you know, I have several film projects that are like kind of in the queue that I'm working on. And I'm working on my doctoral dissertation as a first book, of course. I'm working on that, but that's more third tier priority. My first tier book priority is the K-drama school book. So
yeah,
this is my logic. I want to hear what you think. So I'm like, I have a PhD in cinema media studies, right? So I get to
right.
say what I want, right? Right? Uh,
Well, nobody knows it like you do. I mean, you have
I
the.
I get I get to say it. I get to say
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I mean, this reminds me of the dream project I had. I always wanted to write a book called Ajumma School Drama because I think your perspective of
Do it.
developing this attachment to dramas changes it, intensifies. You somehow find
Yes.
empowering voice when you watch those
Yes,
dramas.
it
So
does. Yes, it
yeah, yeah,
does.
it will be really different from academic books, but it's like fun project
Do
that's
it.
kind of percolating.
Please do it. Please do it. I mean, and already I could see like how affect theory would be like a huge, you know, like fuel, a driving fuel under that thing. But like for mainstream readers, you know, that's what I want
Yeah,
this book to be. Like
right, right.
anybody at KCON, any like, you know, teenager or 20 something year old, 30 something year old, just grab it and flip through it and be like, oh, this is cool. This is an insight. I didn't know about this. So it's got some historical foundation, and it's got a lot of textual analysis. It's got my own analysis like on industry and what's happening. But
Right.
but the question that I don't want to deal with at all in this book is why is Korean drama so appealing to international audiences? Like
Mhm.
right before I came to meet with you here, I had a Zoom meeting with some journalist in Canada who literally asked me that question. And I was like, that is such an, I didn't say this to him, but I was just like, this is the most boring question. Also,
Right.
it's been asked so many times. Like there's so many books written on it. There's already a bunch of conferences on it. Just, it just told me he didn't do his research, you know? And I'm
Well,
like,
yeah, they don't have time to do any research, and they're moving at such a quick speed that they kind of get your sound right, and move on to the next one. And also, think about that question. I mean, it's the underlying kind of assumption is that how could, like these Asian small
Mm-hmm.
countries produce something that's a mega hit globally? So why? I mean, are you said that it's not Hollywood
Exactly.
production? So, I mean,
Exactly.
the table has turned around so much with
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
a decade ago.
Yeah.
Um, look at where things are happening globally.
Yes.
Where is it
Yes.
happening? And why do you ask that question if you have some
Why?
degree of awareness of
They
where
don't
things are happening?
understand. They don't understand what a
Yeah,
white-centric, Americentric,
absolutely.
quote unquote first world centric question that is. He's like, why is it so appealing to English speakers? I'm like, why are you asking that question, you racist? And the journalist black. He's black. That was the more disappointing thing. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't
Mm,
see what I'm seeing right now? So
yeah.
like thank God I'm not a journalist and thank goodness I have a PhD, because like we could see those barriers and those things. But yeah, like you put it beautifully. Like I have nothing more to add to that. But um yeah, like it's just good content is good content. Like look at, Italian neo-realist cinema, right? Like that travels all over the world all the time and people still watch Fellini. Why? Because it's good. It's good and good stuff is going to find audiences no matter what. People do I think the thinking is there's a formula. Again, this is a linear way of thinking that STEM people do. There's a formula to this. There's a formula to hits. I'm like there is no fucking formula. All it comes from is just the motivation, the person who's making good art, they put their time, blood, and sweat and thought into it and make it tight, make it good, and the opportunity comes and it happens.
One thing that people don't know is how saturated Korean entertainment market is
Mm-hmm.
with
Yes.
enormous talents. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
competition is fierce, and I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that make it so good is like Korean audience members are just the toughest critics, right?
Oh my
You
God.
mess up a little bit, you're gonna hear about it right in your
Yeah.
face, and it's partly
Yeah.
due to all these like internet culture. People
Uh-huh.
chat, they share
Yep.
instantaneously what they like,
Yep.
what they don't like. So if you want to please those tough critics, you better be really good, right? So there's a big saturation of talents, and they're all good, and only like really competitive structure makes the top tier rise to what we see and what we hear. So I mean, they
Right.
don't know how tough it is to be there, and I don't think I'm just saying this as a bragging kind of point. It's
No.
also speaking to this human condition that we often don't see. We're seeing the packaged, fancy
Yeah.
product that's pleasing, but what bloody, competition, what tears and sweat go behind the
Yeah.
scenes. It's just heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when Hwang Dong-hyuk said he lost 6 teeth, I was like, you didn't have to lose 6 teeth, man. You didn't have to. Like you could have done something to avoid that. But he like for him, it's like he wouldn't dare. Like he's gotta, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, my real standing ovation here goes to, of course, Hwang Dong-hyuk, but I love the set design. I mean, the
Oh
visual
my gosh.
storytelling is amazing. I mean, how do you create that scale of believability in this kind of children's fairy tale meets slaughterhouse
It's
scenario? Like,
so impressive. Even that doll, the 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다, that
yeah,
little girl doll, that robot doll, like it is such an iconic like thing now, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Um and all those little games like the Poki thing, like and the marbles and all of it. I mean that's got that, kind of indigenous Korean traditional cultural play at work, right? That he
Yeah.
integrates in there in such a sadistic fashion. That's just like really marvelous.
Well, my
Yeah.
favorite set was when they were playing marble games, all these like kind of recreation of this like old
Yeah.
street back. So it
Yeah,
just
the
really brought
골목길.
me back. And the
Yeah.
background, the sunset skyline is like so fake,
Yeah.
immediately contradicting the reality of those street scenes, and it's
Yeah.
so grotesque and beautiful. It's
It
really
is.
haunting.
It is.
I really
It
love
is.
that scene. I mean,
It's really
wow,
beautiful.
yeah,
And like there was so many things that happened in that particular game. It's like these, they're partners and they have to, right? It's heartbreaking and it's literally showing what like the edges that you get pushed to in these kinds of societies that we live. We do this daily. We backstab our favorite colleague at work, give them up. We do it all the time, and we feel like we're pressured to do it
yeah.
because only one can stand, you
I
know?
know, I know, and that's why the triangle is such a prominent symbol. It really reminded me of Produce 101, that idol, recruiting
Yeah.
survival show. I mean, remember the
Yes.
pyramid, right? I
Yes.
mean, even in their choreography, and my
Yes.
God, I mean, for Korean viewers, that's like right back to the fierce competition that melts people alive in
Yes.
this entertainment industry.
Yes. But, I've been saying this daily. I've been saying this at comedy shows a lot too. Any job we accept is a pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
Any job, every single job we ever work is a pyramid scheme. We're making money for whoever's above us and we're getting shit on. It's always the case, And that's where the triangle also comes in too.
oh
That's
yeah.
how it
I
is.
mean, I mean, I think, there's like a lot of resonance with the Parasite, where stairs become such an important
Oh my God,
kind of
yes.
visual storytelling, right? I mean,
Mm.
the desire for mobility, and
Mm-hmm.
the infinite, kind of bottom that you can fall into at a moment's second.
Infinite
I mean,
abyss. And to find comfort there, to
absolutely.
find resignation there.
Yeah,
I said
right.
this in the Bechdel Cast podcast, but I mean, the classic 이상's 날개, right? He's that guy in the basement. He
Yeah,
says, I feel totally comfortable here. I'm a slave to my wife. She can do what she wants. She feeds me twice a day. I'm good.
right. That's happiness over freedom.
Huh? What's
That's
that?
happiness over freedom.
Yeah.
Bringing back about the dichotomy of choices. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
just like a mental thing. Yeah. But I
Mhm.
mean, but also with that, it's like, look at the mise en scène. It's dark, he's dirty. Like he's saying he's happy or he's comforted, but is he really? He's living in the darkness. In darkness where there's no light and there's no other living things, like there's no joy there. That's another illusion. There are layers of realities and there are you really have to find the actual real freedom. I think that takes work to do,
Yeah.
Reminds me of drug addicts in a way.
I mean, going back to that episode 6, where there's this pair work where, people have this like false illusion that this is going to be a team play again. So they find their
I
favorite friends,
know.
people that they can partner up with in a constructive way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the dramatic arc leads us to that point, because the previous game was a team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
Effort. So we're naturally kind of subscribing to that logic, and it betrays you right there, most
Right
harrowing
there.
way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my favorite episode. I think it's like the
Yeah.
set exquisite. That
It's
kind
so
of
good.
cruelty of having
The
to kill your
cruelty.
sibling, brother is just, or father figure is
Mm-hmm.
just the most
Yeah.
revealing kind of reversal of characters that we
The
see.
sadism behind it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was also kind of really heartbroken with the two women, right? Like they
Oh
get
my
paired up.
God.
One's North Korean. She has a younger brother, and she feels like she has a purpose to help her brother. But the other one, who she's been molested by her father, she had a terrible life. Uh, she just feels like she has nothing to live for, you
Yeah.
know? And I was just like, wow. I mean, she's come this far, and
Yeah.
now this realization is settling in,
Mhm.
you know?
I mean, I think that death of that Ji-young, the South Korean girl, I think that's like I mean, you can't say this, but that's like the most meaningful death in the whole drama, right? She had
Mm,
a purpose with her death. I mean, because
mm,
she really saw the why she had to go over the other, North Korean resettler. I think
yeah,
it just makes her life almost well lived, which is very paradoxical, because as you said, her life was horrible with her priest
yeah,
father, being
yeah,
the biggest hypocrite, the most violent person to
yeah,
even kill her mother, right?
yeah.
So I think that death is also a really good moment of reversal, of kind of turning her life into almost well lived life, because she died well in a way. She died
A
with purpose.
martyrdom.
Kind of. And I think that's like really heartbreaking. I love the fact that it was actually friendship between girls, not just like typical boy girl kind of bloody romance, which would have been a cliche. And I thought that was a very good choice of kind of pairing up, these two girls of same similar age. Yeah.
And as much beauty and meaning I found between them, I was also kind of annoyed. And I was like, this is why more women need to be hired as writers, because men are so fucking misogynistic. It's such a um, again, because of the martyrdom aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this girl, the North Korean, she has a younger brother to take care of, right? It's like the onus of taking
Mm-hmm.
care of caretaking. It falls on the woman. And this girl's like, well, I don't have anybody to take care of, so I can just die, you know?
Hmm.
It's like, we could have given her another thinking, you know? It's like, no, you had a real shitty life. I mean, you had a terrible life. Let's say you win this money and you go out. You can live a better life, you know? I mean, you can choose to do that. But instead, she was like, well, I don't have anything to live for because I don't have a younger brother. I don't have family. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's when I got irritated. I was like, again
Oh,
with the
interesting.
family thing, you know? Yeah, like my hardcore Korean feminist was like, no, fuck that shit because why can't a woman, seriously, why can't a woman ever just be single?
Hmm.
Not coupled up with somebody or not want to have a child. Why can't she just be herself?
Hmm.
You know? Koreans just never let that happen. Even in Hollywood, they barely make that happen. I'm always on the search for when and where am I going to see a female protagonist who is not looking for love or trying to have a baby? Where and when? Because there's
Hmm.
so many male protagonists who just get that. They're given that all the time and they're heroes. And I'm just like, where am I? I'm
Hmm.
not interested in either of those things. Where am I? You know? And,
Hmm.
that annoyed me. Like the female characters on this show, they were underdeveloped, in my opinion. They were
Oh,
very
really?
grossly
Wow.
underdeveloped.
Yeah, this is where we depart because I love that North Korean character. I
I mean,
mean,
she was something special. Yeah.
yeah, I love not only
Yeah.
her kind of, the rough kind of quality that comes with a new kind of actor, but I like her character as well because, I mean, I love the fact that she is so full of willpower to change the course of her life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she is actually feeling the responsibility of taking care of her younger brother didn't bother me so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think about the family aspect so much, but I love
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she is such a driven character. She's
Yeah.
go-getter. She will do anything to make it
Yep.
happen. And that
Unapologetic.
strong
Yeah.
willpower. Yes, unapologetic is really good. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that
Mm-hmm.
quality about that character in a way. But family is a good point. Yeah. I mean, remember that episode 6 is particularly cruel. Do you remember that husband and wife pairing?
Mm.
Wow, the irony of it, right? Um, so yeah, there's a lot of family trope that figure into this particular tragedy in a way, but
Yeah.
um, and it's so ironic that it's the husband who survives, right? And is like bothered by guilt. And you know how that Seoul National University Sangmun-dong's like genius characters are like, yeah, if you're so guilty, like why did you live? Why didn't you let your
Right.
wife live? And
Yeah.
it was like true, cruel but true. Yeah.
But, it's like in a situation like that, none of those questions or accusations or blame matter. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They're just pointless, right? Like
Yeah.
that Sangmun-dong guy was also the Seoul National guy was also really, really interesting. Like
Wow.
he
Yeah.
was the one that was supposed to make it. He was the one that had it all. He went to Seoul National. He had a corporate job. How did it get so ugly so fast? And then that made me think about intergenerational wealth. He came from a
Mhm.
small bumfuck town, small neighborhood, mother who's a nobody, doesn't have a father, doesn't have connections. Intergenerational wealth means everything. You can do all the right things. Grace Jung can do all the right things. She got a Fulbright. She got a PhD. She did all the right things. She's on food stamps and on unemployment. You know what I'm saying?
Don't be
It's
so
like
hard,
that
Greg.
network means so much. No, but that is I do think that's what he was symbolic of. Is like
Hmm.
he lacked the network. If you're not of like that's how the elite think. If you're not of us, you can come and play around us, but you're not of us. You're not of our pedigree, and there's no way you're gonna come up here. And what drove him was the greed, right? The greed
Mhm.
got him into all those scams. Why? He wanted to be up there, be part of the elite.
Yeah, this intergenerational thing is interesting because, I mean, if you look at who's filthy rich of all Koreans, there it's the show's host, Nam, right?
Mm-hmm.
That grandpa. I somehow knew
Yep.
that he was the mastermind of the whole thing. He was
Oh,
like smiling, and I told my husband, like,
nice.
"See, he's a mastermind." He's like, "No." I said, "Like, see, I've watched enough
Oh,
drama to get it." But
you know
no,
it. You
there's
can
a
sense it.
oh yeah, I mean the smile was like so creepy that I knew something
Oh
was up
yeah.
with him. He's not an ordinary,
Sinister.
yeah,
Sinister guy.
guy that he
Mm-hmm.
appears to be. But anyway, this intergenerational wealth is interesting because I mean, look at the younger generation today. Most of them do not have better opportunities than their parents' generation. You know,
Hmm.
they don't have same degree of opportunity or resource to succeed
Hmm.
compared to their parents' generation. And this is probably the first time in modern history when this kind of reversal of fortune took place. Because
Hmm.
our myth of progress is that with every generation things will get better. You know, my children
Right.
will have better life than me. But that
Sure.
Oilam grandpa is a self-made man, if you think
Yeah.
about it, right? I mean,
Yes.
he lived in this very humble,
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood
The
ordinary
골목길.
people.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
He's from
Mm-hmm.
Sumin. He was Sumin, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinary
Yep.
person and made to, I don't know what he did, perhaps something
Yep.
shady, we'll never know. Maybe he
Mm-hmm.
made oil because his name is Oilnam. But
Sure, maybe. That's interesting.
yeah, but you see, I think that's also a kind of social commentary that resonates well with what we see in our reality, which is
Hmm. You think you think that current generation has disadvantages?
I do, I do,
In
I
what
do.
way?
Well, I mean, I have lots of anecdotal evidence of how this is really based on reality that I see. Like, for example, my mother, I mean, so can I start with anecdotal evidence and maybe spare the lecture for later? My mother-in-law, for example, was a single mom. I mean, she was a sport counselor, so she had single, income, a very modest job. She was able to send her kids to two kids to college and still afford a house with her salary. It was all doable with honest income, right?
I
Can we
see.
do that today? If you are a single mom with two kids, can you send your kids
It's an
to
impossibility.
college and afford your mortgage? So this is like very tangible evidence that I see. And this is not a single isolated exception. I mean, there are a lot of stories like that. When it comes to Korea, I think it's also the kind of 기성세대, right? Established generation kind of being very oppressive and this like popular trending word, 라떼는 말이야, right? Latte is horse. If you heard about this, it's their mentality. Oh, I did this when I was young. Like, why can't you make it? I mean, Korea was in a very different place. It was an expand post-war economy where everything was like experiencing a golden boom, whereas right now, wealth is not shared that way anymore. You know, we cannot tell our students to say they work hard and things will happen. I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, it's not the truth. In fact,
No,
work less. Work less. Save your energy and save your spirit. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, there's a sociologist, I forget his name right now, but he wrote a book called like Why Are White Men Angry?
oh
And
yeah,
you know
I
this book,
remember.
yes?
Yes, yes, yes,
But he was
yes.
talking about what you were just talking about. How
Mhm.
back in the day, you could work and make enough money to buy a house because, it made sense economically. Like minimum wage made sense and blah, blah, blah. Today, the minimum wage doesn't make any sense in terms of how things are price pointed at.
No. Yeah, I mean, this has a lot to do with shift towards neoliberal economy where workforce doesn't have guarantee of
Yeah.
stability, healthcare, social welfare anymore. It's all disposable clinic citizens where you use this very young underpaid people once, twice, and throw them away, supply them
Mm-hmm.
with new workforce. There's no infrastructure to build on long-term plans,
Mm-hmm.
security, and more. It's that structural shift that we have gone through.
Yeah. And this is the failure of capitalism. The thing that nobody wants to criticize, the thing that nobody wants to admit. But this is the failure of capitalism. There's a huge gap, a huge hole in it, you know?
Yeah.
And how to there's I don't know what the answer is to patching it up. You know, a lot of economists don't even know. They just observe. They don't have any answers. But yeah, that's a good point. What you're saying is it resonates with me very much. Well, what did you think of the ending when when Lee Jung-jae is all broken and dejected and he's not using his money and he's still living this kind of like, you know, like a homeless man's existence?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think it's um, kind of logical. It's a very logical choice he would make, right? Because I mean, of the two finalists, they have very different worldview. I mean, some of the Seoul National university characters that I came this far because I'm smart. I put in intelligence to get this far, whereas Ki-hoon, the loser guy, knows that his final status is built on so many people's dead bodies. He literally thinks
Mm.
that. So I think those two finalists have very different outlook on how far they came. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that Lee Jung-jae, Kyung character knows that every single money bill that he's gonna spend is somebody's blood, somebody's
Mm-hmm.
life. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
like viscerally aware of it, and
Yeah.
to be faced with his own mom's death when he
Mm.
came back with money. The whole
Yeah.
purpose of participating in it. I mean, of course, together with kind of securing parental rights for the daughter
Right.
as
And
too.
oh
But I
my
think
God.
primarily the mom died, so his whole
Yeah.
purpose of needing that money disappears. So I think it was a very logical thing. But
Yeah.
again, the director doesn't really leave things as this great tragedy. I mean, that comical moment of when he goes to the headquarters at the bank and says, "Oh, 만 원만 빌려주세요." That was funny. Like you got shitload of money coming out of
Yeah.
your ears.
Yeah.
만
Yeah.
원만 빌려주세요. Can I have like,
No. And what does the bank guy say? He says, yes, of course.
of course.
Because people with money will always be given more money, right? And oh my
Oh,
God, the title of that episode was 운수 좋은 날, which is that short story,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Where this guy just goes through hell to make money and bring home the millet that his wife wanted, and he gets home and she's dead. Right? It's like such a great literary kind of usage, you know, to again indicate to Korean viewers, it's like, you know this. It's not new in present modern day. It's been going on for like a century. It's always been the case, right? Like,
But that
s
episode title was a spoiler. I mean, it just tells you how it will end, right?
yeah,
Like,
you
yeah,
just see it. You see
yeah,
she's gonna be dead. Of course she's gonna be dead.
yeah.
And, you know, in episode two, remember when he gets dropped off? Like he and that the 소매치기 girl, they get dropped off and they're all tied up and, you know, she's like, "Why should I untie you?" And he says, I won't ask you for money. I won't." And she's like, "How do I know this?" And he's like, "I swear on my mother's life."
Oh yeah. Oh
He says,
wow.
"I swear on my mother's life." And then she unties him, and he goes, and he tries to beat her, and then she goes, "I feel really bad for your mother," you know.
Oh, oh,
And
that's
again,
really good. Yeah.
yeah, he says, "I feel bad for your mother," and she's that symbol of the daughter. I mean, the sister who's never gonna give up on family. Like she's like
Yeah.
willing to go the extra mile for her younger brother. And for her, it's like her word is her bond. Like she will do it. Whereas this guy, he's just like, I don't care. I don't care. You know,
Yeah.
I'll just do whatever I need to do. But yeah, what a great show. I mean, you know, it's got so many layers to it, and we could talk about it endlessly. But um, this was really great. Thank you so much for making time.
It's good to see you. Because of pandemic, I really didn't have any chance to say goodbye to recent PhD, which is quite sad and anticlimactic. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so much work getting your degree, and I just
Yes.
feel like it's very anticlimactic. So this was sort of a makeup for that.
Yeah. No, thank you for making the time. And yeah, like it is a lot of work, but I think as long as you feel joy and some passion in it, like it's just it doesn't feel like work at all. It's an absolute pleasure, right? And honestly, writing my dissertation was an absolute pleasure. And I was like thinking about this yesterday. I was like, I had a really great committee. You know, I was like proud of my committee members. You know, I was like Chon Noriega and you and Jasmine Trice and Caldwell. I was like, this is like an excellent committee, you know? Like I am in really good hands. So,
It was so fun reading it, and I'm
yeah.
just impressed by how much good work went in such a short period of writing time. It's very impressive. I think you have a knack for writing. Keep up the good
Uh,
work and live your dream life. I'm not going to say any false, words of hope, but I do think that there's tremendous joy in pursuing what you like despite all the struggles. So never
I
forget about
agree.
that. Yeah.
I agree.
By the way, I'm
Thank you.
citing your dissertation in my North Korea book. It's
Oh, you have another North Korea book?
it's been in the making, but it's kind of in a stall because I have to do more interviews. But Yemen is really popular in North Korea, so I do cite your book. I mean, your dissertation. That will be a book.
I'll bet. Actually, as soon as you said 예능, I just realized, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I just realized this Squid Game is all 예능, if you
Yeah,
think about it.
that's right. It's game show format. Yeah, yeah.
It's all
Well,
예능. Oh my
all them, like,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
True.
my God. And cause you know how like on like 무한도전 when they're like fighting
Mm-hmm.
each other for one banana, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
they kill each other for one banana.
yeah.
Same thing.
Like
Same
this
thing.
audition show is also very resonating with Squid Game, like Produce
Yes.
101 and all
Yes.
kinds of like, hidden singers, like all the mask, right? Mm.
Competition, gamification, yeah, the secrecy, right? The
Yeah,
building tension. Yeah. Of course this show's gonna be a hit. It's got all the elements of good television, you know?
absolutely. Yeah. So I do hope that, Netflix and K-drama will have good marriage because all these like pre-production that allows for that kind
Mm.
of detail,
Yeah.
it's possible because they're not using Devon, they're not shooting like live shows that'll air tonight. So
Not anymore.
yeah,
They're,
as
they're
far as they get fair pay and good working condition, it could be a marriage that could be really good.
South Korea really needs to unionize. They
Yeah,
have to unionize, and they're not unionizing. They have to unionize. When it comes to cast and crew, actors, musicians, they all need to unionize like they did in Hollywood. They have to do it. Otherwise, they're not going to be protected. And
yeah,
South Korea also needs to be aware that Netflix is a media conglomerate. They are Disney except streamers. They're ruthless. They don't care. They don't care about anything except money. They have to realize this. Like I saw a Hangare article. This is really sad. A Hangare article where a VP in Netflix VP, he was like, South Korea got 16,000 new jobs thanks to Netflix. We
mm,
made $1 billion, like $5 billion, and our economy is stimulated thanks to Netflix. I was like, maybe Netflix should thank South Korea for their
absolutely.
content and
Yeah,
how cheap they got everything.
very cheap.
Maybe
You
like
know,
Squid Game is the most viewed show in Netflix's history of streaming, and Netflix wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for Squid Game and Hwang Dong-hyuk
like,
losing 6 teeth. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the whole
So,
9 episode costs like one episode production cost of The Crown. It's pretty much equivalent. Like, imagine that. So,
yeah.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
that cheap Asian labor who do like 5 times more job than white people. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
You get that a lot as faculty too. So you'll see. Like, if you
Yeah.
look like you or me, you're expected to
Yeah.
work twice and you still get this like very condescending view that you're not good enough. I get that
Mm.
every day.
I'll bet. I'll bet. I mean, I already get that, like being a stand-up comedian and how devalued I am compared to very mediocre, if not unfunny white guys all the time. I see it all the time. Like, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with this, but like I know you also like studied like Russian performance art and like Eastern European like art and stuff. uh like you have this other wealth of knowledge and passion for those things, but people keep expecting Korea out of you, right?
Absolutely.
Like, and how do you like keep the frustration of that at bay? I don't know if at all.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I've come to love it because I've just kind of become a patriot at this point because so much has to be said about Korea that people are not aware of or having misconception. I know I'm just like
yeah, yeah.
stereotype casting myself here, but it is frustrating. I mean, I was never really taken seriously by people in Slavic field just
Mm,
because I'm not one of them. And
okay.
there's like very long-standing. academic stereotype, casting going
Okay.
on.
All
I could
right.
have not gotten a job in Slavic department, but I got hired right away in Korean studies because back then the
Wow.
job market wasn't as dire as today.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's also a luck with generations. Certain generations have really hard times, such as now,
Yeah.
COVID and all that. Sometimes field is expanding and there are more opportunities. So yeah, so my path traveling through academia as Korean studies scholar was very smooth and easy because there's a lot of this typecasting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I have your first book on North Korea, and I think it's really fascinating. And the work that you did is like incredible. And I even love how personal you got with it, saying like what it felt like to be in the presence of other North Korean students and those
Yeah,
feelings that
thank
came up for
you.
you. And I was just like, all of this is so mesmerizing. So I love how personal that book is. And I'm really looking forward to your second North Korea project. I'm sure it'll be just as wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, Grace. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Did I ever tell you I broke a guy's mattress?
How?
Um,
How do you break a mattress?
by
With your big ass. That's how. Your fucking gigantic
no,
butt.
I I was standing on his bed. We didn't have sex. I just stood on his bed and like it went like boom and like my my foot went like through the mattress. And I felt so bad, but like we didn't have sex, but it was still sort of like a hookup situation sort
Who
of.
does that?
But
Who
it never
stands on
came
a
to it.
bed? Yeah, because you broke
So
his
I
fucking
felt really
mattress.
bad. I broke his mattress and then I never saw him again. And I was on vacation, so yeah.
Oh my God, you idiot. Why were you standing on his bed? That's weird. That's a
I don't know,
weird
you
place to
never stand on a
stand.
bed. I don't know, if it's a bouncy bed, it's fun.
So you were jumping on his bed. Is this different?
No,
It's different from
how dare
standing.
you? I was not jumping on it.
Okay.
Maybe I was exerting some force with my
You were
foot onto the
jumping on his
bed.
bed and you broke his mattress. You're such an asshole. Who jumps on a bed? You're not
On a
4 years
stranger's
old.
bed.
Oh
True.
my God. That is so unacceptable.
I'm so sorry if he's listening to this. I apologize.
Wait, so okay, I'm very surprised. Like you're not somebody who watches Korean dramas, and here you are. You watched all of Squid Game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I heard it was supposed to be good, and then I started, and it was good, and I was on vacation.
Yeah.
So I was, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Go to the beach? No.
And you're
So,
go to the beach. You're somebody who, I mean, this isn't exactly like your cup of tea kind of genre, Like you watch fucking Golden Girls every fucking night, you know?
but I also watch a lot of like crime shows.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
like
were you into Hunger
Scandinavian
Games and
crime
stuff? Were
shows.
you into Hunger
I was
Games and
into, yes, Hunger
Game
Games.
of
I like,
Thrones?
no,
Okay.
never watched it.
I never watched Game of
Yeah,
Thrones either. But
I
okay.
I I, I just I gave up after one episode,
Me
which
too. I couldn't
yeah,
get through the first episode. I was like, this is so boring and stupid. I'm
I
over it.
know,
I couldn't.
I
I
know.
tried. I tried my best. I tried like for 3 months
Yeah,
straight. And I was like, you know what, Grace, this is too much. This is like an abusive relationship. You don't need to do
yeah,
this, you know?
yeah.
Um,
No,
okay, so you got
yeah,
into this show. Um,
yes.
what was it about this show that appealed to you? Like what was sort of your like what was engaging you about this show?
I mean, I think for one, it's like the cinematography is beautiful,
Oh
like the
yeah.
colors and the whole setup and the very
Mm-hmm.
kind of orchestrated
Yeah.
camera shots that
Okay.
are, yeah, those are great to watch. And then I enjoy a mystery. I mean,
Yeah.
I everything I read is like a stupid, dumb mystery or a crime
Uh-huh.
novel.
Uh-huh.
So just like trying to figure out what's going on, who's running this operation, what's
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
what's their motive.
The
That's what got
suspense.
me into it,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And the characters,
Yeah.
especially the crazy curly haired lady.
The borderline personality. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What an icon.
Wow. That woman. She was something else.
Mm, yeah.
What did you like about her?
She's camp. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's a
So I
sad
think
camp. It's kind of like
she's a
devastating.
sad
It's like
camp, but she is a gay icon, I believe. That's she's camp enough to be a gay icon. That's why I
yeah.
enjoyed her.
Yeah. She was a really complicated character for me because I was like, I mean, I understand what she's doing. Like what she's doing is actually no different from what everybody else is doing. Like she's just trying to survive. She's just trying to live.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is how South Korean viewers, the South Korean audience, called the showrunner Hwang Dong-hyuk a misogynist for her character specifically. They were like, she went and had sex with this guy so that she could live. And I'm like, what is with you, South Korea? Why are you guys so fucking uptight that you think having sex is suddenly like this immoral thing in order to live when everybody's done something shitty in order to survive? Like every single person did. It's like the reception and that mentality is misogynistic. It's not the actual character and her choices, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of very
And it's
bizarre.
also, I mean, it's not that doesn't make the show or the character sexist, even if you do believe that using sex to gain an advantage is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it say about society in general that a woman has to be in that position?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the fact that, you know, society has considered the vagina a currency, you know, and that prostitution is, you know, one of the oldest trades in the capitalist systems that we've been living in our societies for, you know, centuries. It's like, yeah, it's more, I think you're right. It's more a testament to that. And I didn't find her character misogynistic at all. Maybe in some respects, like, I mean, she was a bit flighty. I was like, whoa, okay, like she's a lot. But I mean, I know people like her, you know? The thing I found misogynistic and bothersome was how the female characters all had to have a sense of family as the reasoning to live and get this money. Like the North Korean girl, she was doing this for her brother. And then the other girl, the one that ends up giving up during the Marvel games, she's like, I have nothing to live for. Like, I don't have a family to go and live for. And then she decides to just be a martyr for this girl so she can go and save her brother. I was just like, how come women always have to sacrifice themselves for family? You know, like.
But I mean, the main character's motivation was his family too, his daughter and his mother.
True.
Right?
They were all kind of doing it for their family members. Yeah. But you know, it's just like, it's such a trope in Korean novels and in Korean movies, and especially in novels and movies written and directed by men, that I just find it annoying as hell. You know, like if you think about it, the old man, for instance, like the old guy, like he wasn't doing any of that shit for his family. He was just doing it for himself. The gangster guy, he wasn't doing it for his family. He was doing it for himself. Like there were male characters who were doing it for themselves. But that flighty woman, the curly hair lady, like she said she had a baby, you know, like she had a brother.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just, but in a way, it's also like it's weird that with some of the men, it's just assumed that they don't need a motivation. They're just doing it for themselves. We didn't really need to explain.
No,
there wasn't an explanation for it. Yeah, why are they doing it? It's just part of their nature, kind of.
It's like, because I'm entitled to, like, I'm entitled to have everything I want. That's why I'm gonna go into it. And I'm like, how come bitches can't do that? You know, I want to see more bitches do that. All right, let me see. I don't know, let's try and do this, like, because you're the second person ever on the podcast to have actually seen the show where I'm going to ask flashcard questions to. The only time I did that was with Dan Telfer when I was asking him flashcard questions about Kingdom, but it still kind of worked with him. So let me ask you, um,
Mm-hmm.
you're the main protagonist, and your 10-year-old daughter, right? She's living with her stepdad, your ex-wife's current husband, and your mother has diabetes. She needs surgery. She's about to lose her legs. You're in this dire, desperate strait. So you go to your ex-wife, you ask for some money. She says no, but the ex-husband comes running out and hands you an envelope and says, here's the money. You don't need to pay me back. I just don't want you to ever see our daughter again because she's trying to readjust. What do you
Mm-hmm.
do?
Well, first of all, take the money, obviously. I mean, there's no written contract part of this money handing over situation.
It's
Who
true.
says I have to do what he wants me to do?
It's just cash. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, take the money, and then go around his back and meet my daughter anyway.
Yeah, right?
I mean, presumably she also likes me better than him. I don't
Yeah,
know.
she does.
Maybe, hopefully. So yeah, who cares? There's no contract. I can do whatever I want with my money and my daughter.
Wow.
I mean, that sounded bad.
No.
No, I can do whatever I want with my money, and I can
Yeah.
see my daughter when I want to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then let's say you're that North Korean girl. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I believe her name was Haebyeol. Or Sebyok. 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 It means dawn. It's a very pretty name.
Oh, yeah.
So you're this North Korean chick named Sebyok, and your parents are missing, most likely dead, okay? Because you were all defectors of North Korea, and it's like trying to migrate from, South America into the United States. It's very difficult. It's really violent. It's awful. Your parents are most likely dead, but your younger brother, who's at an orphanage, okay? He's like losing hope. He feels like you've abandoned him, and he feels like you're lying to him about reuniting the family and everything, right? You in your heart feel like your parents are dead, but your brother is heartbroken, and you say to him, I promise we're all gonna reunite, right? But you don't know if that's true. You don't really know if that's true. I mean, what do you do in that situation? I mean, do you just lie to your brother, or do you just say like they're most likely dead? Like, are you honest with him, or are you gonna try and protect his feelings? What's priority?
How old is the brother again?
He looks about 8 or 9.
8.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's tough. I feel like 8 is a weird age. I'm just trying to remember like my own childhood and what I was like with 8 when I was 8.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if I would have been able to process that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, keep up the lie, definitely. Do you want me to go? Do you want me to put a damper on the whole thing and just because my own father died when I was 11, and I feel like if I'm just trying to think of myself in that situation, I think she gotta wait. I have to wait before I tell my brother for, like, just draw it out. Wait until he's 12, 13, maybe. I think 8 is too young to handle that sort of thing, especially if you don't know. Like, don't make assumptions don't make assumptions. Just tell your brother. Keep up his hopes. And then wait and see if they're actually dead, and then you can tell them.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that answer.
Sorry, were you expecting a funny answer? That was very dark.
No, it's okay. It wasn't that dark. It was just
Okay.
honest and truthful. Yeah. Good. No, I think that's smart. Yeah. It's like, spare him. Like, why put that trauma on a kid who won't be able to handle it? Yeah, I think that's smart.
Especially if you don't know.
Right.
For sure.
You're not 100% sure. It's like most likely they're dead, but you're not 100% sure. Okay.
Imagine if you tell him and then they turn out not to be dead, and then his mom shows up and he thinks his mom's a fucking ghost.
Yeah.
Or a zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wait.
Okay.
That should be season 2 of Squid Game. zombie mom.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's actually a good idea. Yeah. Combine Kingdom and Squid Game together and make something. Okay.
Oh, is Kingdom about zombies?
Yeah, it's about zombies in the
Ooh,
Joseon
okay.
Dynasty. So during the Joseon Dynasty. So it's like a period piece and a zombie thing. And it's a TV show.
Nice.
The first season's phenomenal. Season 2
Okay.
gets a little wacky. And then the
Mm-hmm.
movie, which is supposed to like be the finale that ends this whole thing, it sucks. Like I couldn't get through it at all.
Oh,
I was just like, I'm
oh,
over it. All right.
okay.
Okay, then let's get to the ending. Because the ending's weird. You won all this fucking money,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody hands you a thing of flowers and a card, and then you go and you see this old man who you thought you killed,
Mm-hmm.
but he's lying up in bed, and he says he's the
Mm-hmm.
orchestrator of this whole fucking insane psychopath game. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Kill him again. I mean, for real this time. Honestly. I mean, I since I've seen the show, I know how hard it was for him to like kill the man the first time. Now
Yeah.
do it again. You actually get to enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and get over your trauma of killing him for the first time. Yeah, just get rid
Yeah.
of that old
Hmm.
dude,
Okay.
bald, hairless, way too old. Sorry, I,
Fuck.
I may be prejudiced against bald people.
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of him.
Okay.
Get rid of him. Yeah.
Okay. Let's say you're that police officer guy who snuck in and he's doing the whole
Mm,
undercover thing, okay?
yes, that's my Handmaid's Tale
Crush,
crush.
you're into him.
Yes.
He was pretty
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. I did
okay.
not like the bangs they gave him, but he's a very good looking man. I'm prejudiced against bald people and bangs. So it's not a lot of options I can work with.
So if
It's
a
gotta be
person was
something extreme.
completely shaven and they only
Oh
had
my
bangs,
god. No, that cancels each other out. It's like a double no, and then I'm really into that. It's a double negative.
equals a yes for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. At least we know your kink. I mean, if you ever, get into a long-term relationship and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm a little bored, can you shave your head and just save
Can
the
you
bangs?
become like a monk, but also get rid of all of this? Just keep just that part,
Just the front
please.
part.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh shit. Okay. Okay. So you're this undercover cop and you've been looking
Mm-hmm.
for your missing older brother, and you went through
Mm-hmm.
all this fucking hell, and the ultimate enemy, the man behind the black mask, he reveals himself, and it's your fucking older brother who's been missing.
Mm.
What do you do?
What I do is rewatch the entire show because I did not realize that was his brother until that. Like I watched the entire show
Yeah.
believing the main character was the cop's brother. I don't know
Oh,
why.
oh my
I mean,
God.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's a big
I may or may not have watched one or two episodes when I
misunderstanding.
was drunk on a lot of red wine,
Okay, yeah.
uh, and some Rocky because it was in Greece. And
Oh my Lord. Uh-huh.
so when he shot him, I didn't realize how dramatic that was. Um, but yeah, what would I do?
Yeah,
He
I mean,
takes off his mask.
he's
Yeah,
been missing for 2 years. Your mother's been on your ass and
yeah,
telling you find your fucking brother. And you were
yeah,
desperately looking for your older brother who's been
yeah,
he was just gone off the
yeah,
grid. And
yeah.
it's this guy who's been the sadistic manager of this entire operation. And he
Mm,
reveals himself and he says, "Here I am. Put down the
here I
gun."
am. It's the me, Mario. I sorry. I would. I mean, he should have brought his mom
To
to
that
that island. She should have given him a good old fashioned spanking. If his mom's also looking for her other son, Just bring her along. Get her in that diving suit. Just get her on that island, and then smack the shit out of his bum. That'll teach him a lesson.
That'll set him straight. Yeah.
Yes.
That'll
Yeah.
snap him out of this crazy sadistic game.
Snap out of it. Exactly.
All
yeah.
right.
That was my
Okay.
Cher impression, by the way.
It's a convincing one. I think you should call her up and do it over the phone. Let's say you're the Pakistani migrant worker Ali. All right.
My second crush, by the way. Yes.
Oh yeah, he was so good. I loved
Yeah.
Ali. All right, so
Yeah.
you're Ali. You were looking to this guy, Sangwoo, right? The guy he keeps calling boss or older
Mhm.
brother Hyung. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a mentor to you,
Mm.
kind of like a role model to you. He was a kind man. He was generous with you, gave you bus fare, you know, and was just
Yeah.
kind of took you under his wing, and he was like really kind to you. And he told you to take your sack of marbles and go walk around this neighborhood area to go and examine and see what's up, and then come back and they're going to make a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you come back and he has all the marbles, and in your little sack a bunch of fucking pebbles,
Yeah.
and you know you're going to die. What do you do?
Yeah. Snatch the marbles from him first. I mean, first option. If that doesn't work, I don't know. What can you do with the pebbles? You can throw pebbles at him. Doesn't probably do a lot of harm. Shove the pebbles up his nostrils. Just do something so you're not just like standing there and like get killed by him or
Something retaliatory.
yeah. Just do something with the pebbles.
I mean, you know you're gonna die. Like he won the
Yeah.
game. The red
Yeah.
suited guy's gonna shoot you now.
Yeah.
It's over. It's just, you know, you have your final moment
Yeah.
facing death.
Mm.
And this dawns on you, like the guy that you trusted
Yeah.
betrayed you.
Try to do something with the pebbles. I don't know. It's gotta be something.
That's all you have.
Something sadistic with the pebbles. Shove him up his urethra. I don't know.
Okay, just
also
put
tell
pebbles
him,
into his orifice. Okay. All right.
yes, ear holes.
Oh my gosh.
What other
Just
holes do you have in a body? Yeah,
any
just
hole,
all of
butthole.
them. Yeah. But
Eyes are technically
yes.
holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make holes that aren't even there. Just create them.
You do that. Yeah.
With the pebbles.
Yeah. And then tell him that he looks much better without glasses and he should never put them back on. Yeah.
Were you
also
into
took me a long
Sangwoo
time.
too?
No, but it took me a while to realize it was one character and not two different characters because he looks so different with and without glasses. Yes.
It was like a what's his face? Clark.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
like
so
a
easy.
Superman.
Imagine how easy I am to fool by Superman. You could totally.
You're one of those.
Now
citizens.
I understand those dumb characters who never. Yeah,
they never
dumb
could
people
figure.
Who
It's
never,
just a pair of fucking glasses, and it's like a mask.
And
it's
like a little hair lock, like a little Jerry curl.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Pebbles.
All right. Final question. You're at the subway. You dyed your hair red for some reason. I don't know why. That was weird. Like he dyes his hair red. Dye your hair purplish red, looking like a fucking anime character. And you're on your way to the airport to go and see your daughter in LA. And at the subway station, I don't know why he took the subway. He's a fucking multimillionaire. He takes a fucking subway to the airport. Yeah. It's so bizarre. This guy was just so all kinds of wacky. But at the subway station, you see the guy that got you suckered into this whole thing slapping another potential victim. What do you do?
Suck his dick. That's my third crush.
Oh, he was so hot. Yeah. Oh.
Yes. Yeah. He's got great hair. And as you know, hair, kind of a thing for me. Then give him 10,000 won to slap me again. No, no. I would never say that in my mom's house. I don't know. He's got 43. It's about 40 million US dollars, right? That's about the equivalent of it.
Yeah.
Buy him off.
Oh,
Make him live in your house.
yeah.
Just so you can stare at him all day long. He can throw
Perfect.
those weird cards on the floor, and then you throw your card on top of that, which is that an actual game, by the way?
It is. It's called
'Cause
dakji.
how do you flip that by like throwing something else on top of it? It seems very
It
counterintuitive.
takes so much maneuvering and strength and agility and focus and accuracy. It's like a skill. Like a lot of these schoolboys would play it. So like grown men, like my dad, like men who are my dad's age, like that's like their childhood thing. And there was always some kid who was really fucking good at that, you know? It's such a simple game, but once your ego gets involved in it, it's like riled up. And they just, it's like a whole fucking thing.
It seems almost impossible to do.
It's almost impossible. It is almost impossible, but it's doable. And you got to fold it with like a certain kind of dense paper so that it has weight to it. It's a whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, but that's what I would do. Buy him off, put him in my house. Let me stare at him.
Not touch, only stare.
Doesn't have I don't have to touch, but he does have to keep his hair. I'll get him some hair gel so he can keep up that dew. Yeah. I've never said that dew. I've never used that word to describe someone's hair. I don't know why I did just now.
Okay. All right, very good. Oh wow. It's a perfect answer. Yeah.
All right, yeah. You agree with me apparently.
Oh my god, Gongyu is so hot. The reason why Gongyu was in that episode as a cameo is because Gongyu was in the showrunner's second feature film in a film called Silence, which is a really devastating movie. I don't recommend it. It's not at all a cheerful fun film. It's fucked up. But yeah, that's why Gongyu makes that cameo appearance.
I see.
But very good. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Sure.